Light it.
Welcome back to The Triple Option presented by Wendy's. Rob Stone, Urban Meyer. We are now joined by a Super Bowl champion, a college and pro football Hall of Famer, a proud former Connecticut resident, a guy who did his college in upstate New York. Man, Dwight, you and I are like one and the same, except for completely different. Dwight Freeney joins us right now on The Triple Option. Good to have you here. You and Urban were running together just a couple days ago. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. Me and him were on that golf course struggling together. We bled together on that course, man. It was not easy.
Well, Dwight, we've done it twice now, and I'm every time I see your name show up, and I love to play with you. However, I'm going to go on record, Rob, that I've never seen a human being swing a golf club as hard as I've seen John Daly. And I mean, not just the club head speed, but Freeney's a big dude, man. And he's got whatever it is, I don't want to disrespect you. I'm saying 260, 280. What?
That's pretty disrespectful, right?
What are you?
Great start, Coach.
It depends on what you're looking at. I mean, look, as a former player, 260, how dare you? But as a retired athlete, thank you. I appreciate it.
What are you?
I'm not in the gym right now, all right?
What are you? What do you weigh?
You got to go up a little bit. You're like
All
20
right,
pounds. You're 20 pounds short.
So whatever it is, all right, we're going to throw 280. The torque and the movement, the ground shakes a little bit. And we play with these LPGAers, and they are incredible. I'd rather play with the LPGA than the big boys, because the big boys just hit it too far. And I love playing with those girls at the Hilton Grand Vacation. But enjoyed playing with you. And he's also he's Michael Jordan's partner on some of those matches at Grove, the legendary matches at Grove 23. And he said he's got a day job tomorrow. What time's your day job start tomorrow?
I get there at 8:45. We tee off by 9:15 latest.
And it's the fastest 36 holes in golf, right?
Don't blink. Don't blink. You can barely talk. You go ahead and hit your ball and keep moving.
Were you playing growing up in Bloomfield, Connecticut, or up at Syracuse, or is this a post NFL thing?
Well, this was, something that I kind of got into towards the, I guess, mid part of my career. It wasn't my first couple years, but once I got into like year 4 or 5 or whatever, I wanted to pick something up, and golf was sitting right there. There's not much, no offense to Indianapolis, but there wasn't much going on, for me there, other than those great, beautiful golf courses, and the rest is history. I started there and I continued on.
Obviously, it's Super Bowl week, and me and you had a conversation. I was at your championship game in 2006 over the Bears, and that rainstorm that hit. I was actually there with Charlie Strong. That was a month after we won our national championship, and so let's go watch them. So here you are, you're a sack leader, you're a Hall of Famer, you're a grown-ass man getting ready to go play in a Super Bowl. It's the week before. I can only imagine it's tenfold, hundredfold, thousandfold what a college player getting ready for that national championship game. Plus, those guys are 17 to 19. What do you recall about the championship, about that week, about we're getting ready to go make history? What do you remember? Was it it's another game, or was it reality that this is not another game?
Well, I think you're fooling yourself if you try to convince yourself it's just another game. It isn't just another game. It's that game that you've dreamt about, that you prepared for, the top of the mountain, the thing that you've put every off-season workout towards, all the sacrifices on you, and it all comes down to this one moment, which comes a lot of anxiety, a lot of sleepless nights. You would play the next day, the day after you win the AFC championship, you would play the next day because like by the third time, I went there 3 times. You had 2 weeks, right? Is the longest 2 weeks ever. Because you just want to get it over with. You want to get there. You want it to hurry up. But it's one of those moments that you have to just take it all in. And that's what I used to tell all the young guys: take it all in, because you never know when if you're ever gonna get back. So live in the moment. It is technically just another game, but not really. So let's not fool yourselves. And it's going to be ups and downs. You're not going to always. It's not going to all be blowing the guys out. You're going to mess up, and you're going to have to face some adversity. But if you put the work in, which most of us to get to that point, you did, the good things will happen in that game.
What was that moment in the week or 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl that confirmed to you that this is not just another game?
No, I mean it starts from the moment you win. You got the ticket requests, and I would just say, for any guy, I'm sure they're going through it. If you have a significant other, let her handle that. All right, because you got everybody from who knows who that you hadn't talked to in 10, 15 years hitting you up for Super Bowl tickets, the hotel accommodations, everything that you go into that week. It's just amplified every single moment. I'm talking practice, the media attention that you have to give, all the little sites that you have to visit while you're there. The coaching staff, if they do a good job, they keep you away from that and try to keep you closest to your routine as possible. But it's still impossible because they have obligations that they have to that we committed to as an organization and a team. And you have to kind of grow the game, so you have to go out there in front of the camera, even if you're not a camera guy. So it's a lot going on into that game. We normally, as players, can't wait until kind of like that Wednesday, Thursday of the game week, because that becomes more of what we're used to. But that whole week that just left, oh my God, you could have it.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about your alma mater for a minute. And I
Yeah.
know everyone realizes you were part of that Paul Pasqualoni, Kevin Rogers,
Yes,
Steve
sir.
Adazio, Donovan McNabb. That was when Syracuse, there was times Syracuse top 5 program. You've hired his young cat, Fran Brown. I don't know him, but I love his bravado. I love the fact that he's going after people. I think he told one coach, keep our name out of your mouth or something. And then you take Kyle McCord and he said, I'm going to buy Ryan Day a bottle of champagne or something like that. But here's a guy that I think a program like a Syracuse, they need something. They're not always going to get the 5-star athletes. So you get a 5-star coach, a guy that's going to go out there and he's going to put his cleats in the ground against anybody. I see the players following his lead. What do you see out of Fran Brown?
Yeah, I mean, Fran is an amazing guy, first of all. He's a real guy. And what I mean by that is there's no BS. He's one of those guys will tell you exactly how he feels. No filter, I mean a little filter, but not no real filter, and I think a lot of guys can gravitate to that. A lot of kids can gravitate to that. Just the realness that you hear from his voice and how he acts and how he talks. You have sometimes you run into coaches who give you coach talk, let's just call it, and it's just not the real. If you suck, say I sucked. If and that's just what it is. If I was great, tell me I was great. But don't sugarcoat it and all those types of things because it's not helping me. And I think that's kind of the type of guy that he is. He keeps it real with the players. He connects really well with the youth. The youth can see, the players can see probably themselves in him a little bit because of the age. And he's a little bit closer to maybe age wise being in his 40s, younger coach than somebody who's in their 60s or whatever it is. So I think a lot of players kind of can relate to him.
10-win season. They open up the campaign in August in Atlanta against Tennessee, right? A chance to make a statement right out of the gates next season. What is your involvement level with the Syracuse football program right now?
Well, it's actually more than it's ever been. It's been kind of interesting. As an NFL player, being in a locker room, we had this thing called, a man law bet. All right. And what that basically was is, whatever school you went to, if somebody else in the locker room went to that same school, you have to bet $100, regardless if you know they're playing or not. And someone just walks up to you and says, "Hey, give me that 100. We won." And I remember for about 10-year period, I would run my ass away from anybody I knew. Try to hide
When is
because they got
Florida
to get me
State week?
before.
When is Clemson week? Run
Yeah,
for the hills.
listen. I am going to be missing in action. If I see that guy coming down the hallway, I'm going the other way until at least that week is over with. Because once the week is over with, they can't come and get that 100. It's too late. You ran out of time. So that's kind of how it's been for me. But as of late, if I was still playing, oh, I'm going to walk up to every single guy. Let's go. Remember, there's a bet this week. But it's great to see it, and I'm going to be involved a little bit more in the organization. I talk to Fran from time to time, whatever he needs. Bruce Smith told me one time, hey, look, all the knowledge that he has isn't for him to hold on to, is to share with others. And I really believe that honestly. So if there's something that I could help one of these young pass rushers, D linemen or D coordinator or whatever it is to help my team, my school get back to being where we think that we should be at, I'll do it.
So what does Syracuse need to do to get back up into that conversation and the day and age that we're in right now to get into the college football playoff conversation?
Well, I just think it's consistency. You have to have some consistency from a coaching's perspective and the player's perspective, knowing what the standard is. I mean, B, you have to have the guys. You have to be able to recruit the guys. And I think now it's a little bit different. Obviously with all the money that's getting thrown around, so you got to have a little cash somewhere to be able to entice those types of players to come to your school. But once you get there, it's still about X's and O's. It's about who works harder. And there's been a lot of guys who hadn't been highly recruited and made big things happen in the college game and the pro game and are Hall of Famers. So it doesn't matter if you're a 5-star or whatever. It's about the work that you put in. And if you don't have the coaching staff and the people around you and that system that you can go in and you can kind of grow as a player, then it doesn't matter. You could be whatever you want to be, but you're not going to turn out to be anything.
We had a great conversation on the golf course about the 3-4 versus a 4-3. Dwight, that was incredible. And the 4-3 defense, Dwight Freeney, you're a Hall of Famer because of it. They would have stuck you in a 3-4. You would have probably figured a way to still be great. But as an offensive coach, and you agreed with this, that was interesting when we talked. As an offensive coach, the one defense I did not want to see was the 3-4. Getting ready, the multiplicity of all the different looks, the stand-up, there's so many different variations of the defense. If it was 4-3, you knew where they're at. The problem I had every year, every January, I told you, every February, we reevaluate, and I said, screw it, I'm going to go to a 3-4, and then all of a sudden I'm looking, I got Bosa, Chase Young, Sam Hubbard, Tyquan Lewis, Jalen Holmes, and those cats don't want to play. Near the end of your career, you told me the story. Here's a guy's got 100 sacks. He's going to be a future Hall of Famer. And they bring in someone. They said, hey, we're going to move you to a 3-4, which means, Rob, he's going to be standing up. And the look on Dwight's face on about the 16th hole when he was telling me about, he's like, wait, what in the hell? I'm not going to do this. He's respectful. And then he started to work his way. Hey, do you mind if I get in a stance? Tell us that quick story about the 3-4.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I was already well established in my career. It was me and Robert Mathis. And, all of a sudden, we got a new regime, new GM, and, they wanted to switch up our whole entire defense. And I'm not saying that our defense was, the greatest all the way around, but, we had some cornerstones that should probably have stayed in the same position that they've always played. And, they decided, hey, you know what, let's go to a 3-4 scheme. And it became, okay, so what does that really mean? Oh, no, Dwight, you need to stand up. Okay, I've never stood up before. But okay, I'll do that, coach. Whatever you want, whatever you ask, I'm going to do it. I'm not that guy. I'm going to sit there and say, hell no, I'm not doing it. Pick some. No, listen, you asked me to do something, I'm going to try. Well, I got in the stance, 3-4 stance. And if you don't know about defensive linemen and what they look at and what they key, we have blinders on. Okay, we are focused on kind of, the line, the offensive tackle, or that guard, the ball, and that's all we see. You can't really see it all. But when you stand us up, all of a sudden you're seeing all this stuff that you've never seen before. Here comes that motion. Here comes the tight end, all this stuff. And then we have to key the offensive tackle. So if you're not really used to that, it becomes you're seeing too much. And what happened is while I was going through this process of trying to change who I was into something else, I kind of stumbled over that a little bit to where though I had to ask the coach, hey, can I put my hand back down on the ground so that I can get focused and get the get off that I know I got and all that rather than standing up and trying to figure out how I get off the ball that way? Well, look, that works great when it's a pass and you're rushing, but it doesn't work so great when it's a pass and you're dropping. So I think it wasn't probably the system for me, and we had some tough times, and probably that's what ended up happening was I ended up leaving the team that next year. They didn't resign me, and I understand why, because they wanted a 3-4 guy. Wasn't me.
Can we talk about one of my favorite human beings, Tony Dungy? And
Yeah.
I had the great fortune to be a Cub reporter back in Tampa, Florida, when Coach Dungy took over the Buccaneers, and I was in there with the previous regime, and then I was in there with the Dungy years, and that's Sapp and Derek Brooks and Allstat and John Lynch. I mean, just some legendary humans in that program, and the way he changed that program, the way he changed that locker room still resonates with me, and his calm, quiet demeanor and the amount of respect that he doesn't ask for, but you feel like he is owed immediately. I say the words Tony Dungy to you. What comes to your mind?
I mean, you kind of described it. He transcends the position of coaching. He goes to a whole nother level of father figure. It's not just about football. And he's one of those coaches that I don't have a whole bunch of these guys, but he was one of those coaches where when you messed up, you're upset, not just because you personally just messed up. You're messed up and you let the coach down because he's that type of guy where you would do anything for him.
How did he do it?
Because
I still don't. I don't know how he
well,
did it, Dwight. It's
the
is it an
reason
aura? It's his presence. I don't know what
no,
it was.
it's just that he treated everybody like men, man. He didn't feel like he needed to scream and yell at you, and this is such a type of, I don't know, what would you call it, kind of militaristic type of game that we play where it's coaches screaming, yelling, dog cussing you out because it is an aggressive game, and most coaches do that. And he was one of those guys that never felt like he needed to. He's not going to call you out your name. He's just going to say, hey, you know what, son, this may not be for you. We'll get somebody else. It's okay. And it's okay that way. You can still get a lot done and treat everybody with complete utmost respect. And some coaches like to yell and scream. Maybe they just can't help themselves.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I mean, I've had both, and I'm not saying anything's tremendously wrong with the guy who likes to yell and scream. Maybe that's how he decides he wants to motivate his players. Tony never had to do that. He could motivate those guys just based on treating them all like men. And if you were walking down the street, he wouldn't yell and scream at you then. And the coaches probably wouldn't yell and scream at a stranger. You would just probably talk to the man just how you say, hey, how you doing? Oh, no, sir, that's not how you're supposed to do it. Whatever it is, just like a man. And that's how he talked to everybody. And
That,
that's what we respected about him, is just because, just because he had a coach and he was the head coach, he didn't have to treat us any differently and then men. He didn't have to talk down to us.
back to Super Bowl week with Coach Dungy. How did he approach that buildup? Did you notice anything different, or just some messaging that maybe might have been unique or wasn't in his
I
normal
wouldn't.
conversation?
Yeah, listen, man. Tony was just right here. Right
Mm-hmm.
here. Not too high, not too low. He stayed right there, and it gave us confidence. It was anything new. He didn't make anything up. All of a sudden he come out there yelling and screaming. No, that's not him. And we respected that, and it gives us confidence when coach is calm. Coach is who he is, and we're going to be who we are. That's just how we do.
All right. How did you become a golfing partner with Michael Jordan? I got to figure this one out.
Dude,
Give me the genesis of this one,
well,
man.
basically, 2003, I think I got invited to his invitational that he used to have in the Bahamas. Right. So this is usually around the time I kind of, picked up a club once or twice. And I got invited to his invitational. And while I was there, I met one of his best friends. One of his best friends lived in Indianapolis. Obviously, I was playing for Indianapolis. So his best friend comes up to me and says, "Hey, man, big fan, da da da. MJ's my friend, one of my best friends. Hey, man, we'll be getting together here soon." I said, "Okay, great." Played the tournament, whatever it was, and then the off season came along, and me and that best friend stayed in contact. And then so what happened is when they go on trips or wherever they used to go, they used to call the young guy, young kid, which was me. 2004, 24, whatever I was. And, I'll tag along on the little trip, whatever it is, and that's how our relationship started to grow was through his mutual friend, his best friend became one of my good friends. And they just called me along because I was basically his next door neighbor. So I would just tag along. And then that's how our relationship grew to where we are now.
So when you're golfing with Jordan, do you have to come loaded with cash, or is Zelle and Venmo accepted?
You don't have to answer that, Dwight. Plead the fifth.
Yeah,
Personal
I'm
check.
gonna definitely plead the fifth. But let's put it
Bonds.
this way: it's definitely an old school type of.
All right.
I've never heard anybody use Zelle. Zelle or any electronic type of payment system. And if you are using that, you're probably not going to be here long at the club. So you might as well take a picture because you probably won't see the course again. So just come with cash.
Oh man, Coach, what's the sound effect when Dwight is on the tee box?
It's not just well, usually when you play with someone that swings that hard, you hear the wind and how fast he swings. And then obviously the ball sounds like an explosion. That's not even it. It's the torque. He almost comes off the ground. And I try to not watch it because then it just, so I especially if I have to go, which he was playing so much better than me that day. So I'm like, damn, I got to follow that again. And the ground's still shaking. And I'm like, what did I just watch?
Yeah.
No, it's
so
great.
funny.
I'll tell you what, there's not a better guy to play with and hang with than Dwight Freeney, man. I love the dude. So great hanging with you, man.
Hey, man. Same here, boss.
Dwight, thanks for joining us this week on Super Bowl week. Plenty more Super Bowl conversation to come up on the triple option. But Dwight Freeney, man, thanks so much for taking time on Super Bowl week to join us on the triple option. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you for having me. Y'all take care.
Light it.